Special Meditation, September 22, 2009. Jim, the question this evening from Jay is, how can I enter into contact with my higher self and get daily guidance from it with such clarity that I would be able to clearly identify that I am receiving guidance from my higher self and not from my imagination or from any other sources? What spiritual principles may I use to aid me in receiving guidance? Carla channeling. We are those known to as QUO. Greetings in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator, in whose service we come to you this evening. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be called to your circle of seeking. We are delighted to share with you our humble thoughts concerning the subject of receiving information from your guidance system. However, before we begin, as always, we would ask all of those who listen to or read these words to use their discrimination and discernment in choosing which of the thoughts that we share to retain. Follow the resonance in that which is said. If thoughts are resonant to you, keep them by all means, and work with them as is useful to you. If they do not resonate to you, we ask that you leave them behind. In this way, we can be sure that we have not infringed upon your free will or the sanctity of your spiritual process. We thank you for this consideration. The subject of receiving good information from one's guidance is a good subject upon which to ponder and to seek, because the quality of that which is given you from your own guidance is very high. It is the gift to the self from the self to have this guidance system. Each entity exists both in third density as a creature of flesh and blood and as the energy body, which is the self within time-space within mid-sixth density. These two are inexorably linked. This energy entity is a citizen of eternity and dwells in infinite time. The foundation of each seeker's guidance system is his own higher self, that self, who, in mid-sixth density, has experienced all that is desired. When that entity realizes fully that he shall no longer desire, or seek to fulfill desires, but instead turn towards the call of the infinite creator to rejoin it fully, it turns one last time to what you would see as the past, and creates a thought form that contains all of the harvest of that which he has learned throughout all of his incarnations and all densities through the sixth. This thought form he leaves with the developing entity, wherever it is, in whatever incarnation it is experiencing, so that at any time, he may call upon his highest and best self and ask how to evaluate things, and whatever other advice he deems needed. This higher self is joined by at least 3 angelic entities. This instrument calls 2 of these angelic entities the Holy Spirit in his male and female aspect. Others consider the angelic entities to be gurus, or literally angels. Some entities, who are seeking to serve the light, collect about them as many as a dozen angelic presences, or more, all of whom wish to support and encourage the service to the light, which the seeker has undertaken within incarnation. This service is not necessarily an outer service. Many are those who create the portal within themselves which holds a space wherein light may come through from those realms of pure love into third density. This is a great service in itself, and may be offered by a seeker in any condition of life whatever. The spiritual principle involved in seeking one's guidance is that which can be called faith. Faith is often misunderstood among your peoples, for they confuse faith with belief. Belief is always belief in something, perhaps a creed, or a system of tenets, that form a dogmatic system. A believer believes specific points, or speaks to a specific creed. Faith, on the other hand, has no content. It contains no knowledge. It is an attitude. It is the attitude that knows beyond doubt, regardless of the circumstances, that all is well, and the entity who is living a life in faith cannot be daunted by circumstance. Faith is an attitude which assumes that the infinite creator, the higher self, and that self, which planned this incarnation before taking flesh, have provided ample opportunities for learning and for service. Sometimes involved in learning is suffering. Sometimes there is sorrow and pain. Yet one, living the life in faith, knows that that which is happening is perfect. It is precisely what is needed to advance spiritually and to be of service. Consequently, such an entity cooperates and harmonizes with circumstance and allows creativity and imagination to play a part in the flowing forward of events. Faith does not recognize closed doors. Faith abides, patiently, trustingly, and with infinite attention. For there shall come those hints, inklings, and information from Spirit, that shall illuminate the situation within the present moment. And this faith is that which shall serve you well, my brother, as you learn to listen to and communicate with your guidance system. There is no such thing as being able, without any doubt whatsoever, to know that you are communicating with your guidance. There is a reason for this unknowing. Each entity within third density is given complete free will to choose those things which he desires, and that which he desires shall be given unto him. In this atmosphere of free will, it is not desirable from the standpoint of spiritual growth that there be some way to test and prove spiritual events or influences. Instead of such objective means of determining the validity of metaphysical experiences, the seeker is given, instead, the ability to set intentions, such as speaking with one's guidance. Once this intention has been carefully and profoundly set in such a way that the self hears the self on a deep level, it is necessary only to proceed to have a conversation on a continuing basis with your guidance. This instrument communicates with its higher self, using the computer. She types in her questions, and then allows her mind to be filled with a thought. That thought comes, and she types it into the computer. If she desires to communicate further, she types in another question, and then again waits for a thought. When it comes, she types it without questioning it, judging it, or in any way, analyzing it. It is a simple procedure, my brother, and it is a protective one in that your guidance system dwells within your protected aura. This communication cannot be disrupted by psychic reading. Its very simplicity, however, frustrates and baffles the intellectual mind. If the intellectual mind is allowed to work, it shall immediately begin asking, how do I know that this thought is not my thought? How do I know that I am receiving guidance from a legitimate guidance system? My brother, you shall never know in that objective way of proof until the day comes when your scientists are able to create instrumentation to track vibration of this subtle kind. By the time this is done, my brother, you shall be either in fourth density, or your home density, having concluded your service, and your learning upon planet Earth. Therefore, your objective needs to be to continue and persevere, having conversations, if possible, daily, keeping a record, either on the computer, or writing by hand. Gradually, you shall build up a sufficient amount of material, in order to have the ability to look back upon the collected experiences of this conversation, as it continues. The longer that you continue with this discipline, the more dense shall be the patterns of congruency and harmonization that you shall begin to see. Gradually you shall begin to gain confidence in this source of intelligence, not because of objective proof, but because of an increasing amount of synchronicity and coincidence of a spiritually interesting nature that shall begin to grow up around this conversation. Eventually you shall come to trust in this source of inspiration and information, because it has stood you in good stead over a period of time, and because there has come to be a certain energy, which you can associate with this conversation, which comes at no other time. We sympathize with the frustration that you feel at not being able to be certain in an intellectual way of the validity of this method of receiving guidance. However, it is not spiritually helpful to experience that model, where you purchase guidance as though it were a product that you can buy at a store. It is far more helpful to you to dwell within your humanity and unknowing, while pursuing the life and faith. You dwell as a human being in third density in a world of facts, and figures, and weights, and measures, and often, my brother, they do not speak the truth even though they are facts. Conversely, in the world of spirit you dwell in a land of mystery and paradox, yet that information, which you are able to bring through in your protected, sacred conversation grows into that substantial reality, which to you becomes more real than the facts, and figures, weights and measures of third density, space-time reality. We applaud you, my brother, for seeking your guidance in this way. We know that you shall launch yourself into midair, as is the way of faith, and that you shall find firm footing in that midair, as you allow yourself to remain empty so that you may be filled with those gifts of the Spirit, which are yours. My brother, a life in faith is supported best by entering the silence on a daily basis in whatever way that you should wish. Within that silence is all of the information you need. However, it is not offered in words or even concepts. It flows, rather, in the currents of silence into your deepest heart, there to lodge securely, and to bubble up into the daily life, in dreams, and visions, and those feelings that are typical of a Gnostic knowledge, rather than an intellectual one. 1. May we ask if there is a follow-up to this query, before we take other questions? We are those of QUO. Jim, on the telephone, would you like to ask one of your other follow-up questions? Jay, the follow-up question is, I started a few months ago to write every morning, and every evening, all the things I'm grateful for. How do you see this? Is it useful? Is there any way to improve it? What spiritual principles would help me think about the situation? We are those of QUO, and are aware of your query, my brother. Gratitude is indeed a spiritual principle, my brother. The energy of gratitude contains a world of wisdom and compassion, for one is gratified not only because of the good things, so-called, not only the sunny days, but the rainy days, the stormy days, the tsunami. All weathers whatsoever, all are occasions for gratitude. Therefore, this practice is of a very high order of excellence, and we commend you, my brother, for working with this principle in humility and in joy. There is simplicity to the spiritual walk that baffles the intellectual mind. All that occurs is that which comes before the self, in order that the self may practice responding with vibrations as close as humanly possible to the vibration of the one infinite creator, which is unconditional love. Consequently, the response of one that is vibrating at his highest and best shall always be love. Garnering to oneself the energies of thanksgiving and gratitude create for the self a tuning of the instrument that is his deepest nature, so that he may more and more be able to sound the melodies of spirit that flow through his wind instrument, as he breathes, as he speaks, as he thinks, and as he acts. This attitude of thanksgiving and gratitude creates an ever uplifting energy that brings the seeker more and more into the realms of truth, that truth, which cannot be spoken, but which can be felt. We would not know how to advise you, my brother, of how to improve upon this practice. However, as you have already initiated a practice of recording those things for which you are thankful, and as you are seeking diligently to begin and continue a conversation with your guidance system, we feel that if there are refinements or additions to such a practice, it shall organically well up within you, in quietness and in confidence as to how you shall alter your practice. You are like the tree that is planted by the water. As your roots drink the infinite love and light of the one infinite creator, and as the sun of your turning to spirit allows you to thrive, so shall you bloom, first with the bud, then the blossom, then the leaf, and finally the fruit. Who knows when your seasons turn, or how you shall experience them? What is certain is that in establishing these practices, you are opening yourself up maximally to those resources that shall offer you the way forward, step by step, never reaching, never avoiding, but always walking in faith. a holy works, in quietness, and confidence is your strength too. So, my brother, is the way of those whose feet are set upon the king's highway. 3. May we ask if there is another query at this time? We are those of QUO. Jim, on the telephone, would you like to go on to the visualization question? J. The next question is, what is the purpose of dreaming, and the benefit of lucid dreaming?